Alright, this is the second video for assignment 38.5, and that's to deal with circles and also a little bit of light completing the square. So we're not doing full complete the square in terms of solving equations and so forth, and a little bit more complicated when the coefficient on the x squared is not 1, but the types of problems we're going to be looking at, coefficient on the x squared is going to be 1. Sometimes we call that the leading coefficient is 1. Anyways, so to complete the square of x squared plus bx, what we're going to do is we're going to add and subtract b over 2 quantity squared, and this is going to transform this binomial into a perfect square trinomial, and then we can factor it, and we'll see how that works here. So we're going to find the last term to make the trinomial a perfect square. So technically right now it's going to be a binomial, but we're gonna make it into a trinomial. So you have x squared minus 14x, and then we're gonna figure out what we need to add there to make this a perfect square trinomial. So we identify the b, that's the linear coefficient, which is negative 14. And then we're going to take b over 2, so negative 14 over 2, and then we're going to square that. So order of operations, we're going to reduce, and that's going to be negative 7 quantity squared. Okay. There is a shortcut for the complete the square. Once you've done this, that's going to tell you what it factors into, x minus 7 times x minus 7. Anyways, let's go ahead and finish that. That's going to be 49. So we're going to add 49, and we're going to subtract 49, so we keep it equivalent. So x squared minus 14x plus 49 will factor into x minus 7 quantity squared. But to help you out with that, let's go ahead and do the diamond. Okay, so this is just going to be at the end there, so don't worry about it. Okay, so product of 49 and a sum of negative 14. Factors of 49 are 1 times 49, 7 times 7. Negative 7 times negative 7 is 49. Negative 7 plus negative 7 is negative 14. And so actually we're using the, sometimes some classes call it the Richard shortcut. So if we have just a 1x squared there, then what we get from the diamond is what this factors into. Because they are the same factor, we can write it as x minus 7 quantity squared. Okay. Now on My Open Math, they have a blank right here, so that's what you're going to put there, and then they're going to ask you what it factors into. That's what you're going to put right there. Okay. All right, let's do one more example. We're going to do some doubles completing the square, and so we're going to remind you what the standard form of a circle is. Equation of a circle. So x minus h quantity squared plus y minus k quantity squared is equal to r squared. The center is going to be h comma k, and the radius is going to be r. The last example in our notes, we're going to rewrite x squared plus y squared minus 16x minus 14y plus 49 is equal to 0. You're going to run into this a lot more in pre-calculus. So if you plan on taking the pre-calculus math, then you'll certainly see this. If this is the last math class you need for your degree plan, then you probably won't see this again other than for this test. Maybe on the final, but probably just this test. So anyways, we're going to rewrite x squared plus y squared minus 16x minus 14y plus 49 equals 0. And we're going to put that in standard form. And then we'll identify what the center and the radius are. Okay. So what we're going to do is we're going to group the x terms together and the y terms together. So x squared minus 16x, we're going to leave a little bit of room. And then we're going to group the y terms, y squared and minus 14y. And then we're going to leave some room. Then we'll put the 49, leave a little bit of room, and then we're going to say equals to 0. Now the x squared minus 16, we're going to complete the square of that first. So linear coefficient is negative 16, divide that by 2, and then square that. So that's going to be negative 8 squared, which is going to be 64. So we're going to add 64 and also subtract 64. So we want to keep this balanced. And so if I add 64 and subtract 64, we haven't changed anything. And now we're going to do the same thing for the y squared minus 14y. The minus 14 is the linear coefficient, that's your b. You're going to divide that by 2 and then square that, so that gives us negative 7 squared, which is 49. So then we're going to add 49 and we're going to subtract 49. Okay. Now x minus 16 quantity squared. If you recall my little shortcut, it's going to factor into x minus 8 times x minus 8. So we write it as, oops, what did I do here? Went too far. It factors into x minus 8 quantity squared. If you want to see that, we can go ahead and do the diamond on just the red part, the x squared minus 16x plus 64. Product is 64, and the sum is negative 16, so negative 8 and negative 8. This is just an x squared, so you can use the Richard shortcut, and it'll factor into x minus 8 and x minus 8. Because they're the same, we can write that as x minus 8 squared. Likewise, the y squared minus 14y plus 49, that's a perfect square. It's going to factor into y minus 7 quantity squared. So y minus 7 quantity squared. If you want to see a little bit more justification, we'll use the diamond to show that. So the product is 49 and the sum is negative 14. So it's going to give us negative 7 and negative 7. So again, you can use your Richard shortcut, and that's going to be y minus 7 and y minus 7. So those are the same factors, so y minus 7 squared. Okay. And then we're going to go ahead and combine our like terms. Positive 49 and negative 49, those absorb. And we're left with just the minus 64, and that's equal to 0. We're going to add 64 to both sides of the equation. And we have x minus 8 quantity squared plus y minus 7 quantity squared, and that's going to be equal to 8 squared. So now we can identify the center and the radius. So the center is going to be 8, 7, and radius is going to be 8. Okay. And the radius is going to be r, but more specifically, it's going to be 8. Okay. Alrighty. Well, that's it for this video. We'll see you on the other side of Test 5. I think starting after Test 5 is going to be assignment 39. Okay, we'll see you next time.